Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Dad Pod. I'm your host, Zach Waite. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about good self-positive talk that we can either do for ourselves as dads or teaching our kids how to do good self-positive talk. For those who are wondering where I've been, this last summer, I got a job cutting grass for one of the school districts around here in Kansas City. I really enjoyed it. It's probably the most dad thing you can do, right? Cutting grass. But it was really good. I enjoyed the outdoors. I enjoyed just listening to my books. I listened to loads of books this summer. That was a lot of fun. Good time to self-reflect and kind of figure out what was going on in my life, where I wanted to go, and what I wanted to do. So sometimes we just need those little breaks to kind of figure out what's best for us to make sure that we can be the best dad that we can be for our kids and a good husband for our spouses. So that's what I did this last summer. Currently, right now, I got a job at the middle school. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably, ooh, it's cringeworthy. Ooh, middle school. It's a lot of emotions and puberty and all kinds of things. But you know what? I actually love it. I think it is the best fit for me. So currently, I'm just a permanent substitute. I'm hoping to step into a teaching position, but I really do like it. And in today's episode, I hope I can show you why. It's a crucial time in kids' lives, and it's a crucial time as a parent to hopefully help your kid develop good self-positive talk. So let's jump into that topic. So what is good self-positive talk, right? So let me back up and just kind of, I guess, give you my points of views of what I think our self-talk is. For those who don't know, I did communications in my undergrad, and I did law school. So I've had a lot of school, and one of the things that I learned in one of my communication and in law school was we all have a voice inside of our head, and that's our conscience, and that's the voice that kind of leads and guides us of how we react to things, right? So when I go throughout the day, if something happens inside my brain, I'm saying, oh, why me? Why is this happening? This is so frustrating. Why is this going on, right? And so that's the predominant voice inside our head. And unfortunately, I developed a really negative self-talk to myself. Under a lot of stress and pressure going to law school and then trying to take the bar, trying to be a parent, trying to be a husband, and trying to pass for the bar to be a practicing attorney, not getting it, missing it by 8 points, not having a job for 5 months, finances, all kinds of things, right? I think this happens quite often for a lot of guys. I know a couple of my friends have talked to me the ups and downs of finding that career, finding themselves in that career, and being happy with themselves. So ultimately, that was what was going on with me, and I decided that I was going to stop listening to the outside voices of my friends and family. They meant well, and they tried to help me and give me that encouragement. But I was denying myself what was actually going on. And what actually was going on is a lot of negative talk inside my head. But through reading my books this summer and digging up some past books that my grandpa used to read, I decided that I needed to develop that good self-positive talk. And this could also be in the form of a mission statement. I know a lot of people do mission statements. Basically, a mission statement is a list of characteristics or goals or things people want to work on to either become and develop or what they want to be a part of them as an individual, right? So if you take that and you think about it, what are the goals? What are the characteristics that I want for myself? And how can I change the way I talk to myself inside my head that it's positive, right? I was very negative. I used to always think, oh, I can't do that. Or what if I mess up? Or I don't know if anyone likes me. and I was afraid of a lot of things, which was crazy because if you knew me back in high school, I was pretty positive. Even after high school, I was pretty positive. In my undergrad, I was super positive, and I always just enjoyed life. I was ready for the next adventure. And so somewhere along those lines, probably law school, for those who've gone to law school know that it's a beast and it's probably not mentally healthy for anyone to go through what they put you through in law school, but I'm not going to make those rules. But anyways, so I kind of broke down and kind of had some issues with that. So I had to rediscover that good self-talk. Then starting my job at the middle school and having the opportunity to sub in some of the classes, interact with some of the kids, I noticed that not a lot of kids had good self-talk, right? They didn't really have good positive self-talk. So I thought, what can I do as a teacher or a substitute, a leader, a figure to help these kids realize that it starts now? Like, if they want to be successful, if they want to be positive, they have to start developing that good positive talk now, right? And I'm not saying that if anything bad happens to them, they can't get mad or angry. I'm a firm believer that we have these emotions for a reason. The problem is are we dwelling and staying within those emotions? Or are we allowing those emotions to run through our body and then move on to the next and start regulating those emotions, right? And as a kid, I think you have that guidance from teachers, from parents, from church leaders, from your coach, from whatever to try to really help you rein it in. But then when you become an adult, you don't have those. You just kind of have to govern yourself, right? So after like 18 years, you hope that you're doing okay, right? And so you go, I don't know how many years. I went like 8 or 10 years. And then, you just realize you haven't been governing yourself well. You haven't been talking to yourself kindly. And you haven't been developing good self-talk, positive self-talk. I'm going to figure out which way. I think I'm going to go with positive self-talk. I think that's the better way. So, anyways, with these ideas in my mind, I wanted to share with you some of the things that I read this summer and some of the things I hope you dads do with your parents. One of the things that I do that I will share later is from this book. And so let me change screens real fast and see. I'm going to pull it up real fast. Okay. So hopefully that is recording. But let me go through this right here. All right. So some of you might have heard of this book. It's called Think, Grow Rich. Okay. This book is by Napoleon Hill. He was a good, self-help. Oh, that's not what I want. I was just looking for the image. He's a good self-help guy that's from, I believe, the Great Depression era, right? So he wrote this book. It's called Think, Grow Rich. You can see multiple. We'll pull up that one. I think that's the first original one. Okay. He made this book called Think, Grow Rich during 1937. Okay. Great Depression, World War II, and everything. And in this book, he talks about the mind control that we have, right? And he talks about how people, if they think they can be successful, that's where it starts, right? The most important thing is we have that imagination that creates those ideas, which I'm huge on. I love imagination. I love seeing the kids' imaginations at school, what they come up with, right? So I'm going to go up here, and I just want to talk about a little bit of this quote right here. It's number 21, and it talks about any impulse of thought which is repeatedly passed on to the subconscious mind is finally accepted and acted upon. Okay? And what I think that quote means, or what I know it to mean, is that we have our subconscious mind. And if you think about it, it's in the center of our brain. And then we have our conscious mind, which is on the outside of our brain, right? The forefront of our brain, right? That conscious mind is what's going on right now. It's what I'm saying right now. It's what I'm talking about. I'm in the moment. Subconsciously, this is what happens when I'm sleeping, when I'm resting, or maybe when I'm not doing anything. So where does the mind go? That's where the subconscious is. That's where it's kind of wandering. What's getting in? What's feeding in? Right. So if you think about it, the subconscious is in the middle. Conscious mind is on the outside. We have the power to tell and to leak messages in to the subconscious mind. Right. That inner voice. If we sit there and we tell it every day, consciously, I'm sitting here telling myself, I am important. I am loved. I'm successful. Even taking that step further, I am a successful teacher in middle school. I am a successful teacher in social studies middle school. I am a successful teacher in the 6th grade social studies in the middle school of such and such, right? That is going to seep in to the subconscious mind. And if we do it long enough, that subconscious mind has nowhere to go with that idea but to grab it and start believing in it, and you'll see that your actions start doing what you're telling yourself, right? It's a really cool thing. For example, I know this works because I served a 2-year service mission for my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Every day, I studied the scriptures. I read, I taught, I went over these principles of life. I went over these lessons of life. They're really those questions of why we're here, where are we going, what are we doing, right? That's predominantly what I did. Your mind starts kicking back. Well, do I actually believe this? Do I not actually believe it? But the more I read it and the more I kept telling myself about this is what I am, this is who I am, this is my purpose, my subconscious had nowhere else to go but to grab on to that conscious mind that I was feeding those words, and it started to believe. I started to act a certain way. I started to uphold or show those characteristics of what I thought a missionary should be, how he should act, what he should do. And it's a really cool process looking back on it, because it took me till I'm 29 to actually understand what my brain was doing, how it was achievable, and how it was going on, right? So on the Dad Pod, I want to distill that or share that or whatever you want to say to you guys in hopes that you will do it to your kids. And the example I want to give is Napoleon Hill, the guy who wrote Think, Grow Rich. Okay. I'm going to go into a little story mode. Okay. When he had his second son, I believe. Now, I'm not an expert. I read this book quite some time. It was in the summer, so it was a long time ago, because I read a lot of books. But anyways, the gist of it is he had a son who was born deaf, okay? He couldn't hear, I don't think he had ears, or he had something like a hole or something. And the doctors were telling Napoleon that his son would never talk, he would be this disabled child, he wouldn't have much of a life, all this stuff, right? He would need all this specialists. But because Napoleon was doing this research and he was writing books like Think, Grow Rich, he decided that that was never going to be acceptable, and that he was going to distill in his son at a very young age to develop good self-positive talk. So he read a thing, I believe, about how some form of communication can be through bone marrow. So every night before he put his kid to bed or his baby to bed, he would put his lips up to his mouth or up to his head right here, and he would tell his son, "You are important. You are special. You are loved. You will be successful." Okay, he kind of took on that inner voice for his son because his son was a baby and he didn't know how to train that. And he was doing this for years. Okay, fast forward when he's like 6 years old or 7 years old, his son wants to go sell newspapers with his older brother. And the mom says, "No, you're going to be out in the streets. You can't hear anything. You're going to get hit. I don't want you dying," or whatever. So the son's really disappointed, and he goes back into his room. Well, Napoleon and his wife leave, and they have the babysitter come in. Unbeknownst to them, the son had went into the room, grabbed a couple pennies or nickel or whatever. He went and bought a newspaper, turned around, sold it, got more money, bought more newspapers, sold those, and he did this all throughout the day. So when they got home, they found that his son had been missing and that he had finally come home, and he fell asleep in the bed, and he had in his hand, the 6-year-old boy had like $1.37 or something, some change like that. And his wife was crying, but Napoleon was laughing because it confirmed his ideas of that good self-positive talk. His son had this good self-positive talk that he was going to be successful. That he was going to do things, and although Napoleon was the one telling him, his subconscious mind had nowhere else to go but start to grasp and start believing, and his son started acting in that way of how the conscious mind was telling him. So I thought that was pretty amazing story. I mean, if you follow his son's life, he later goes and he gets his first hearing aids, right? And he's able to hear his parents, and he's able to hear them for the first time, and becomes a successful person, goes around the country, and he starts, I guess, marketing for that company that built the hearing aids, because he wrote him a letter and saying, I just want to let you know how important it is to have the hearing aids, because this is the first time I was able to hear my mom. All the other times he would pick up the sound wave and people had to really yell at him. But, so he did this, and then that company hired him, had him go around the country, became a successful, wonderful businessman, yada, 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 right? All because the dad started the self-positive talk at a young age, okay? For those who don't know, my sweet daughter is autistic. I think I've shared that multiple times. And when I read this story, I felt like the stories, and we say our prayers, and I tuck her into bed. I lean over and I tell my daughter that she's important, that she's smart, that she's intelligent, and that she is loved. And I think that has changed her behavior dramatically. And when I started at the middle school, I wanted to do something like this, and I did it for one of the classes I substituted for. And I did it all day. And the response that I got was pretty amazing. I think some of the kids, for the first time in their life, they were told that they were important and that they were loved. And I thought that was sad at first. I mean, I was happy that they felt that and that I was genuine and that they knew that I cared about them. But I thought that was pretty sad that as parents, sometimes we just forget. We don't tell our kids they are important or that they are loved. And I think about, when's the last time that I told myself that I was important? And when was the last time that I told myself that I was loved? And when you start doing that, it just changes your mindset, and it just builds you up confidence. So my challenge for you dads out there this week is tell your kids that they are important and that they are loved and that they will be successful. And I also challenge you to tell yourself that you are successful, you are important, and you are loved. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm hoping to do some smaller episodes like this for the Dad Pod. Things I learned at the middle school, things I learned with kids right now. I'm also hoping to bring back some guests, trying to pin down my brother. I think it'd be a really good fun podcast to talk with my brother. Hopefully he can find the time. But thanks again for tuning in to the Dad Pod. I hope to do more episodes, and have a great week.